What's up, everyone? All right, so in today's episode, I'm going to break down my trades from the morning. Today was pretty surprising. We ended up having a Chinese small cap stock that was a recent IPO, meaning it's near blue sky, its all-time highs. And it broke out through that level, which was at $9. And in about 1 minute, it went from $9 to $30 a share. That was shocking. Now, the thing that was really frustrating about it was when I first started trading it, well, my first trade was a small winner. My second trade was a little bit of a bigger winner. And then my third trade was a big loss. And so I took 3 trades, had 66% accuracy, but I was red because that last trade was such a big loss. So I was red $10,000 on the day before it squeezed from 9 to 30. And if I had gotten up and walked away from my computer, just the luck of the draw I hadn't been here, I'd be down 10,000 on the day right now. But because I was here for that squeeze, I had that swing from red on the day to green. We're going to break it down. I'm going to jump onto the screen share. And before I share with you my P&L from today, let's talk a little bit about how the market looked this morning at about 6:30. So when I first sat down, I looked at the scanners at 6:30 in the morning, and I noticed FATN was our leading gainer. However, this is a stock that, although it's up quite a bit, it's a U.S. company, which is fine. Technology, software, IT services. It squeezed up after hours. And what I don't love about that, and it was on news, but what I don't love about that is by the time I'm looking at it at 6:37 in the morning, if the news was really good, in theory, it should have already made a bigger move. Now, you could say the news could be phenomenal, but traders who are asleep in these hours, traders in Europe, even US traders who don't trade in the afternoon, they'll miss it entirely. And so if the news is really good, you can have continuation to the next day. And that is true. But when I first pulled it up, I could already tell that it was choppy. At 4 a.m., it had opened a little lower than the close at 8 p.m., popped up a little, kind of went sideways, and then it broke out right here just before 7 a.m. and it went from 330 up to 380. And I was thinking about, is this something I should trade here for a breakthrough this level? But I said, no, the problem is this is going to be a double top. And so it ended up indeed coming up to a double top. It pulls back, and then it punches higher up to 390, just under 4. Doesn't break, dips down again, tries again, doesn't even get back to 390, and then it kind of unwinds. And so as I was sitting down here to start trading right at 7 a.m., this was the leading gainer, 7.4 million share float up here. It's got news, but unfortunately, I just couldn't trust it. So there were no trades at 7 a.m., and there were no trades at 7:30, and there were no trades at the top of the hour at 8 a.m. So although we had a few other stocks that popped up, we had ANL that came up. This one has a good headline, $140 million private placement, and it actually did squeeze pretty nicely here from $9 all the way up to $13, but 29 million share float. And I just felt like that probably wasn't going to work. So I left that one alone. CYN, this one was also on the scanners. We've traded it before. I haven't done particularly well on it, so I kind of left that one alone. I was looking for something a little juicier, and then I saw ELAB, and I said, that's not going to work because this stock keeps popping up and then doing a round trip, popping and reversing, popping and reversing. It's now red 20% on the day, in spite of news of an acquisition. So I said, nope, not touching that. And then right here at 742, NPT pops up on the scan. And so NPT pops up on the scan, and the first thing I notice is that it's a Chinese company and there's no news. And so without news, I'm immediately thinking, this is a hard no. I'm not going to touch it. But I then noticed that it is a blue sky setup. It's blue sky above $9.18 because that's the all-time high of this stock. So above that level, blue sky, there's no resistance, which means we could see a pretty decent move, potentially, and we have seen that before. Recent IPOs, recent reverse splits, and blue sky setups are 3 of my favorites from a daily chart perspective. So for those reasons, I was interested, and it ends up popping up here all the way up. First, it pops to 7, dips down, then up to 715, dips down, pops up to 750 right here, and I punched it. Now, I'll tell you that my first order on this, and I'm just going to put my camera like this just so I can switch it so I don't give away how much I'm up on the day. So my first order on this one, I traded in my taxable account. So at Lightspeed, I have two accounts. I've got my main account. Well, I've got my IRA account. It's a retirement account. And then I have a main account. I typically trade in the retirement account, so I'm saving for retirement. Those earnings are tax-free. I pay no income tax on those gains. That's a big deal. So last year, a little over $6 million, completely tax-free. Another trader who makes that same amount of money in a taxable account, if they live in the state of California, they'd lose half of it. You know, the federal government and then the state of California, I mean, it's half is gone to taxes. So my first trade, I was accidentally toggled into my main account, not my retirement account. And so I bought, and I got a partial fill of 3,000 shares for the break of 750. And I got in and I got out and I made $869. But I knew immediately I was in my wrong account because I was only able to buy 3,000 shares. I ran out of buying power. Now, I don't keep a lot of money in this account. I rarely trade in it, but I do have it just for the sake of having it. So that was my first trade, made $900 or $869 right here. And it pops up to $8 and what was it? 15, 20 cents, something like that, 8.20. And then it dips down and it dips down and then it comes back up. And right here, I was like, okay, I'm getting back in. So I got back in right here. Well, actually, I had two trades. I got back in first right here. Right there, I got back in. And on that one, that was my first trade in my retirement account. So let's now switch to retirement account. Okay, there we go. That's a pretty nice green day. So my first trade in the retirement account, I got to go way back here, was in at 775 and 784, and I bought 12,500 shares. I took some profit at 819 and 814, and I was up about 3,000. Then I added back right here at 840, and that was right here on this micro pullback, and then it rejected. And it drops, and I stopped out right here, and I went from up 3,000 on the day to down 10,000. That is a big swing. That was very disappointing. So now I'm down 10 grand on the day. Now, $5,000 is my daily goal for a cold market. 5,000 red is, you know, I don't want to go too much more red than that. So being down 2x the cold market goal in the red is not great. Granted, the market's been pretty hot in January, but, you know, here so far in February, I had a no trade day yesterday. So starting first day of the month with a red day is not great. So as it comes back up here, you know, I said to myself, I don't know that I can trust it. It's betrayed me here with this rejection. And, you know, I didn't feel so great about getting back in. It comes right back up to where I was in. And I'm like, well, son of a gun, I can't, you know. But then I said to myself, you know, I took an oath as a trader that I wouldn't, you know, dismiss a stock, you know, just because it's Chinese or just because it's a little choppy. And so I said, you know, I probably should give it a fair chance. And so I look at it right here, and it breaks 850, and it spikes up there to 888. And I almost took that trade, but I was a little too slow. And so I'm still paying attention to that daily level of $9.18. It rejects. And I said to myself, you know, if it can hold over 850, then I'd consider it. And if it can hold over 9, I'd consider it quite seriously. If it can hold over 950, I'd consider getting married to it. So so then all of a sudden, this thing pops up here to 895, and I'm watching that 918 level, and it rips to 950, and it goes to $10 a share, and I'm like, unbelievable, that's incredible. So what do I do? So I get back in at $10 right here and 10 cents. I know that I'm chasing it a little bit, but I punch it. And then I add more at 11. I'm using my hotkey Shift 1. And I take a little off the table at 11.20, and then I add back here up to 12. And then I add more for 15. I take some profit off at 15. Then I add more in the 20s. And then I take profit off up in the near upper 20s, near the 30s. And then I did a dip coming back down. This thing ended up going all the way up to $30 a share. I can't believe it. I mean, where did that come from? From $9 to $30 in a minute. Wow, that's wild. So I don't know if there were some traders that were shorting this really heavily against that daily level, and then they just got blown out. I don't really know. But then what's even stranger is, so I had that big trade, and then I tried to do a dip trade down here. It goes lower, and I gave back about 10,000 off the top. I was up a little over 90, and I gave back about 10,000 off the top. And then it dips down a little bit more to 18, and I tried one more dip, and it went lower. And then I was like, all right, well, I don't know. It's not bouncing. So this move, I would say, was fueled by short sellers covering. And then the reality is there weren't a lot of buyers who were comfortable getting in, especially when it rejected this quickly from 30 back down below 20. And so then it just kind of slowly was unwinding and coming all the way back down. It's really bizarre. So, and this is almost like classic Chinese stock. Now it's going lower. On the one hand, you've got 15 million shares of volume, and we know that with some of these Chinese stocks, the goal is liquidity. More volume, that means more insiders can sell. And so I don't know if, the company kind of let it rip like that and then started selling as it came back down. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, this was 1 minute of volatility, and I sure am glad I was able to capture it. And so that flipped me from red 10 on the day to up 81,000 on the day. That's a phenomenal day. And that's now, my first trading day, my first trades here for the month of February. So this is the live archive. Now, for members at Warrior Trading, of course, these live archives are, a great resource for you. And so I'm not going to show the whole thing on YouTube because I saved these for members. But as it popped up here to 9, right, 9:18, I'm kind of watching it, hands on the buy button. All of a sudden, it jumps over my order. Then all of a sudden, we're at 10:24. I take a starter. Then I only get a partial fill. It goes all the way to 11:30. I add, but it stalls out. So then I take some profit. And then next thing you know, it's breaking 11:50. Watch this. It comes back up here. So that by itself was like, okay, cool. And then all of a sudden, boom, we're back at 11:50, 11:60 coming up. And I'm back in for the break of 12. And all of a sudden, it goes to 15. And then next thing you know, there's a big seller that pops up just for a second there. So I jumped in, a big seller. I was looking for the break of the whole dollar, right? 12. So I jumped in. It breaks 12. I'm in 11.69. Now it's showing 14.56 on the ask. And then there's an EdgeX seller at 15 right there. And so I take some profit off the table. Then next thing you know, it breaks 15. It goes to 19. What? $19 a share. And then all of a sudden, $28 a share. This is incredible. And I was trying to buy. I got partial fills. And, well, it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And you know what? Here's the thing. I've seen moves like this more times than I can count. Short sellers, they don't always remember these types of moves, but I've seen them more times than I can count. And I've seen stocks like this that have gone 28, and then they go 38, 48, 58, 68. Then they're up $75 a share, and we're like, is this going to go to 100? Next thing you know, it's at 100. Does it hold 100? Then it's at 110, 125, 150, 175, 200, 250, 300, 350, 400. We saw it just last week on TCGL. Right? So had this really broken loose and done something like that, like TCGL, and gone up to 400, this could have been a record-breaking day. This could have been the biggest day of my career. It didn't happen. Still a solid day. But you just never know. You just never know. This is a Singapore company. Today was a Chinese company. So, we got to pay attention to these. But as always, you have to manage your risk. Because what goes up comes back down, right? Once the short squeeze is over, then the shorts aren't covering anymore. New shorts have added at the top. They're the ones that are going to be right on it. Longs aren't going to feel comfortable buying it. And you get a big sell-off. Can you get a bounce later? Sure, but this is the window where there's a lot of liquidity, a lot of volume. That's the spot where there's volatility, and we got to pay attention to it. So congratulations for those of you guys that locked up a solid green day today. If you missed it, there'll be another one around the corner. I mean, this is the reality of the market. We keep seeing moves like this. So we had TCGL last week. We've already had a couple others between TCGL and today. And so I'm sure we'll see more. I did hesitate on this initially and really had my biggest position up around 12, but that still worked well. And in hindsight, coulda, woulda, shoulda, held it longer and da-da-da-da, but you just never know. You never know. These can reverse quickly. So I add, I take profit, I add back, I take some more profit. So just a crazy move there. And yeah, so, and again, reminders always, for those of you guys tuning in on YouTube, if you want to watch these live trading archives, which I'm going to go over just in a moment for Warrior Pro members, or you want to watch over my shoulder as I'm trading, you're welcome to check out a 2-week trial here at Warrior Trading. Now today I was in the red before I went green, and you guys saw that. You see the red days just as much as, you'll see the green days. I put it all on the table. So full transparency, you can really see, what's going on in my mind as I'm trading these stocks. So thank you guys as always for tuning in, and reminder, trading is risky. My results aren't typical. So please manage your risk, take it slow, and I'll see you guys back at it bright and early tomorrow morning. I'll be streaming at 7 a.m.